Hey YouTube, how you doing? My name is Anthony. I'm not coming back at you with another edition of Here in My Office. This time I thought I would, as the description is entitled, tell you a little bit about my experience staying in a mental health hospital. And this is kind of a video coming off the heels of my last video, and I'll put a link at the end of my review of Risperidone or Risperidone and olanzapine, which are the drugs that they put me on after I was admitted. So, kind of want to break up this story, kind of beginning, middle, and end. So, starting out with why I was admitted. I had been admitted to the hospital 2 times, but we're going to talk about the most recent time, which was over this summer, in summer of 2018. So I was having delusions. Not thoughts of suicide, but I was acting very erratically. I actually texted my sister a million times and was saying all sorts of crazy things, and led them to call crisis services, which is like a emergency mental health service that will come to your house and collect you if necessary, and use police if necessary. So I was to make a long story short, I was brought to the hospital. Um, the police showed, and they made me go into the ambulance and go to the hospital. And uh, when you get to the hospital, you're, at least when I got to the hospital with police escort, you're brought to like the emergency room and brought in for evaluation, where they try to put you on fluids. And I was scared of needles, and I was having thoughts of people being out to get me. So I was even thinking that the needles were, poisonous, or something was bad for me. So I was scared of all that, and that was my initial intake. And from there, they put you in this corral, and it's called CPEP. It's called the, I don't know the whole acronym. It's like the Comprehensive Psychiatric Emergency thing. And what that is a room with maybe beds for 20 people, but they'll put as many as 30, 40, 50, even 60 people in this room. And there's one telephone, and you don't have anything on you. You've been brought out to the emergency room, and you're in your regular street clothes, but they make sure they take your shoelaces away and things like that, so you can't harm yourself. And I just remember being in CPAP, and there were some very severely mentally ill people in there going through a lot of different things, screaming and yelling, straight jackets. There's a padded room. I didn't have to go into the padded room. I wasn't that out of control. But basically, you just kind of stay in this hole, in this corral, and wait to get admitted into the hospital or released. I was there for, I think, a period of maybe 8 hours, which felt like days. But I was actually maybe more than 8 hours, maybe more like 12 hours. I was there overnight, and I didn't sleep. The chairs are all plastic. You have no comfort, and there's a TV on. And the first time I was admitted a couple years ago, I was watching the TV, and I was having these delusions that the people on TV were playing characters that I worked with, and the TV is just very disturbing to me, and it was upsetting me. And the news was on, and it was everything that I saw on TV, I would play in my mind as kind of a narrative of something, people that are coming to get me. I had delusions that my brother-in-law was out to get me, things like that, and it was just very upsetting. And but when you're in CPAP, you know, you, I ask for earplugs. So if you're admitted into a psychiatric hospital and you're having auditory delusions, auditory hallucinations, and you need some quiet time, ask them for the earbuds. They're supposed to have them and give them to you, and they did that for me. And when crazy people come up and talk to me, I could just say, "Sorry, I can't hear. I'm just relaxing," and that helps a little bit. There's newspapers in there, magazines, but that's about it. That's about the only thing you could look at. And there's no big selection of magazines. We're talking about magazines from years ago, just junk that were dropped off in there and stuff. So you just try to keep your head clean, and they'll feed you in there. They'll bring in lunch, dinner, and the food was actually, when you're starving, it was actually pretty good. I but you are imprisoned in there. You can't leave, and you're just waiting for the doctor to get to you. And I remember going to the going to the going to the doctors and going to the nurse's station over and over again and just saying, hey, when is my turn? When am I going to be called? And they didn't have like a list of that, and they couldn't tell me. They just said, sit tight, and minutes become hours, and hours become a day. And I heard stories of people being in there for more than one day and days, and yeah, it really sucks. But it's noisy, and you can't concentrate. You can't sleep. I don't think I ever slept in CPAP. I tried to, and I got to the point where I just took blankets and pillows and just covered myself up and tried to just zone out, hoping to get out. But then, of course, I was given the bad news, or to me it was bad news at the time, that I'm being admitted. And at the time, I didn't know that it was that I was going to be admitted for a period of a month. And they attempted to give me olanzapine, which was a drug that I was taking the first time I went through the mental hospital, and I refused it. So they ended up putting me on a different drug called Risperidone. Like I said, if you want to know more about Risperidone, go and look at my other video. It's an antipsychotic, and it really helps get rid of those delusional thoughts and helps you think straight. So when I was finally admitted, they brought me up into a room, and the rooms in the mental health facility, there's no television, there's nothing in the room, there's just some plastic chairs, a bed, a chalkboard, a window. So you do get a window, you get a view of outside and the outside world. And at the time I was in the hospital, unfortunately, it was 80, 90 degrees and sunny and beautiful outside, and here I was stuck in HVAC at a mental hospital, and I couldn't get out. But they put me in a room, and actually the shower thing was broken, and it was spurting water through the wall and going all over the floor, and I had to get moved, and I had my own room, which was pretty nice. But yeah, when you're in your room, they come and they check the room every hour or every 20 minutes or something like that. So they keep opening the door, and they do this all night. So it can be very nerve-wracking if you're trying to get a good night's sleep. But when I was in the hospital for those 4 weeks, they have activities that you can do. You don't have to be in uniform. So I had visitation 2 times. They had visitation 2 times a day, and I was fortunate to have my wife come and visit me every day. And it really, those are the things you look forward to. You have your afternoon. You get up in the morning. So you slept for the first day. You get up in the morning. You have breakfast. I think breakfast was at 9 a.m. And then you get a couple hours to kill. And they had a thing called recreational therapy, which was nice. They let you go outside, but it's on the 8th story of a building. So you kind of go into this cage, so you can get fresh air, and it's nice and sunny out, and you can enjoy the weather a little bit. But recreational therapy was the one thing that I lived for. But unfortunately, it was only 40 minutes long. I said, shit, I wish we could spend a couple hours in recreational therapy every day, working out. They had ping pong tables, foosball, bubble hockey, pool, and a basketball half court. And I was staying at a place called the Erie County Medical Center in Buffalo, New York, ECMC. So recreational therapy, they have that. And then after recreational therapy was your afternoon visit. And that was at it must have been noon, 1 o'clock. And it lasts for, I think it's an hour. And then after visitation during the day, you're back out into the floor, and the floor I was on had two wings, and there was a group on both sides, and then they could shut the doors in the middle. So when things got a little haywire or somebody was losing it, they'd shut the doors and kind of put the place on lockdown. You don't have to go in your rooms, but you have to stay on your wing. And so I stayed in there, and you meet with the doctor maybe once every couple days, your psychiatrist, maybe once every 3 days or something like that, and they evaluate you, and they use that to decide when you're going to be out. And then I remember there's a nurse's station where they have like a grease board, and it'll give release dates for people. And I was looking at that, but they never explain these things to you. They never say, you're going to be in here for this long. They just put you in there and start evaluating you, and then you go look at the grease board, and I noticed, I'm like, that's a date 3 weeks from now. Does that mean I'm going to be here that long? And they're like, yeah. But then it even turned out that my release date was even later than that, because it's just a educated guess, I guess, when they think they're going to have a closer look at you. So then there's I don't know, I think they had recreational therapy, and then they had occupational therapy, where people sit in groups. Now, I had a full-time job at the time, so I didn't really need to sit and talk about my occupation. And what was nice was you didn't have to go to these groups. They were encouraged, and I think that going to group keeps you more sane and gives the doctors more reason to allow you to get released. So I usually went to the groups, and sometimes they give you a little bit more yard time. You get to go outside again, outside of recreational therapy, so you might be able to spend another 20 minutes outside, shoot a little basketball, do something like that, and it wasn't so bad. So then. So there was the breakfast. We've talked about middle of the afternoon visitation, and then there's various groups to meet with that are optional. So then there's dinner. I think dinner was 5-6 o'clock, and it always came sometimes it would be like an hour late, so you're like starving, and they give you a good amount of food. And you could also supplement your food they had a Mighty Taco downstairs in the hospital for the doctors and visitors, and I could have my visitor bring me Mighty Tacos for afternoon dinner. But I never passed up on the food that was provided by the hospital. The food that was provided by the hospital was actually some of it was really good, like meatloaf, and it's not like a mystery meat. It actually tasted good, and I think that the food was actually the same kind of food that the doctors eat down in the cafeteria. So it's decent food, and but all the while, you're meeting with your psychiatrist, you're having visitors, and you're just kind of taking your meds. So then every night. For me, some people take meds more than one time per day, but I took my 2 milligrams of Risperidone at 9 o'clock at night, which then knocked me out by like 10 or 11. I was ready to go to bed. But I'd say the time I spent for that month, there's no alcohol, there's no cell phone, there's no internet, there's no drugs. You're kind of, in my opinion, it kind of felt like rehab, like, you're being forced to live this clean lifestyle, taking these medications, but you're not polluting your body with other things, and you're eating on a regular schedule. So I was gaining weight, I was feeling good, I was working out during recreational therapy in the afternoon, and having my wife bring me fresh clothes, and I was dressed nicely, and in like pajama clothes and things like that, and slippers. Because you're in a mental hospital, right? So you're wearing slippers. But one of the things I hated the most about it was there's some people you're gonna encounter if you spend time in a mental hospital. You're gonna come across people that are more mentally ill than you. You're gonna come past people that are less mentally ill than you. And the ones that are more mentally ill, there was this woman who was literally like 50 years old with the brain of like an 8-year-old. and she would get in my face and do things like that and stick her tongue out at me and drive me crazy. And I told the nurses, I said, if I said I'm gonna slap her face. And I said, if I said I don't know if I could stand this anymore. It's bad enough that we're here, and now you got people acting obnoxious towards you. But and that did happen. There was fights, not fights. There was a fight. I didn't witness it, but what happens is if you get into a fight, then they put you down on another floor for like violent people. And you know, I can imagine if that's probably not the best place to be. But there was a guy I was friends with in the inside, and he said, you know, he kicked somebody or something, and he ended up, you know, put down in the hole. He said it's not that much different. It's just it's more restrictive. There's less you can do, so it's not as enjoyable. But you know, every day just kind of day after day kind of just became the same routine, you know. A healthy routine though, to get you back where you're supposed to be. And this place was expensive, guys. I think it was about $1,500 a day. And I have health insurance, but when I was all done and out of there, because I had like a low plan health insurance, because I don't typically get sick and I don't have health problems, I would I ended up having to pay like $8,000 when I got released, which really sucked. But you know, it is what it is. So that was my experience in the mental hospital. There's more crazy stories. I think I might make different YouTube videos instead of talking for hours on end here. I just wanted to give you a straight up review of what it's like being locked up in a mental hospital that you can't leave from. You know, keep that in mind the whole time we're in these places. The only person that could let you out is the doctor, and it's very nerve-wracking because you're meeting with the doctor on a regular basis and they're evaluating you and deciding if you're ready to be released. So you're always kind of got that on the back of your mind. You're like, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I going to the right groups? Am I you know, doing what I need to do to reduce my sentence, basically? And I even made some jokes in back there. I said, you know, this is just like being in jail. And they're like, oh no, have you ever been to jail? I said, oh, actually, I have spent a night in jail before, so I know what it's like. And you know, they take all your liberties away and take everything from you, but at least they make you comfortable. You know, the bedding was okay. It was always kind of hard to get toiletries. They were always running out of things. If you want to wear the hospital scrubs and socks and stuff that they give you, they got like one size, which is one size fits all, which is like extra large. And I'm not extra large, so nothing fit me. I had to get, you know, my own clothing. So some people walk around in the hospital scrubs and fully embracing the inpatient stay, but for me, I felt more comfortable just wearing the clothes I wear on the street and just you know, wearing pajamas and t-shirts and comfortable clothing. So just you know, as long as you have support from the outside, it makes it much easier. Because a lot of the people I spent time with, some of them didn't have anybody. Some of them, there was a guy who was homeless who had schizophrenia, and he you know, when he's released, he's just released out into the street. I mean, that really sucks. So if you have that support system outside of the hospital, it makes your stay on the inside much easier. So I think that's going to wrap it up for my my review. Check out my link at the end of this video for my review of Risperidone, and also check out the link for my Here in the Office series. I've made 26 videos on my career and my job hunt, which is currently in process, and we're looking for jobs right now. So check that out. And I also have some videos about my house, my car, things like that, about my just regular lifestyle. And you could also find me on Instagram, #AnthonyRon82. And with that, guys, I'm going to let you go. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos like this. And check out my review of Risperidone, and check out my Here in My Office series. Thanks, guys. Bye.